Hey, it's Mark Ferguson with Invest for More, standing outside the commercial property I bought in February of last year. It's a 68,000 square foot kind of strip mall, but it's a grocery store, restaurant, then more offices behind there. And we also have a land lease for the coffee shop over there and about 4 acres. So standing right here where it's kind of noisy, but that's a good thing for commercial properties because that means you're on a busy street. I'm going to talk about how much money this property's made us and how basically the value has increased $2 million since we bought it, and we paid $2.1 million for it. So we've managed to increase the value more than double in about a year and 3 months through adding leases. Plus we got a really great deal to begin with. So we'll talk about all that, and I'll show you a little bit more of it and get your opinion on that right there soon. So this is a fireworks stand that goes up every year. And since we bought the property last year, it went up. We didn't have any idea. And the owner of the restaurant has given them permission to use his parking lot. However, it's not really his parking lot, it's our parking lot. And they take up a pretty good chunk. Not only are they taking up his parking lot, but part of the grocery store's parking lot as well. They have their outhouse and a giant thing of fireworks probably in there too. And so this year they put it up again without asking us, even though I came and talked to him last year, gave him my card, told him I was the owner, and they pay nothing. They just set up shop. And this year we called the city and asked about it, and they got shut down right away because they're supposed to get permission from the owner, and they didn't do that. So we gave them permission to continue operating, mostly because they say they're nonprofit and their profits go to cancer, which I feel bad telling them to leave. But what do you guys think? Should we let them stay here for free, using up a lot of the parking space, or make them pay, or tell them they need to change, locations? So that's one thing to think about from this video. Then here's the back side of the building. That's the vacant unit where our office was temporarily when we first moved over here. We rented that. It is now a dance studio, and they're moving in. And then that's our office right there, Blue Steel Real Estate, where we moved in about a year ago. So that's been fantastic. And there's another little office right there in between us. So between adding that lease and this lease, we basically added almost, well, more than $1 million of value to this property with 2 leases. And I'm going to show you the numbers on that and how that works out now. Here are the numbers on the property. Now there's going to be a lot of numbers. This might be very confusing to those of you who are not familiar with commercial, with cap rates. However, I'll try to explain it. It sometimes takes a while to understand what is going on with these properties. And that's one reason why commercial and sometimes multifamily properties can have huge opportunities in them, because they're very complicated. It can be tough to value them. Sometimes they're hard to manage. And if you can come in there and do a better job or clean things up, that increases the value tremendously. And you'll find on a lot of the commercial properties, especially big commercial properties like this, most people are very scared to buy them because they're so complicated. And when you have properties with value add opportunities, vacant spaces, low lease rates, they need work, they're even harder to sell. Even though I love them, I see opportunity, most people see, oh man, that's a liability, there's not any income coming in. So the best way to increase the value on a big commercial property is to make it fully leased with long-term solid leases, and big commercial buyers will pay a premium for those. And that's where the opportunity is to take a okay or bad commercial property, put awesome tenants in there, get it leased for long term, and all of a sudden you've doubled the value or more, which is what we did in this case, and it wasn't even in that bad a shape or had bad tenants when we got it. So we bought it for $2.1 million. It was in sort of off market. It was listed by an agent, but he wanted to sell it to us first, so it wasn't really available to the open market at the time we bought it. That's one reason why we got such an amazing deal. Our down payment was $525. I bought this with a partner, so 25% down payment. I didn't put a bunch of the loan numbers here, but our interest rate was like 4.6% with a 10-year balloon on a 25-year amortization, I believe. So our payment's been around $10,000 a month for this property. So we've been doing very well, making a lot of money before we did any of this stuff. So when we bought it, the rents were around $19,500 a month. Now, how that worked out, the grocery store paid us taxes and insurance every year, and they take care of everything else. Their roof, their parking lot, their utilities, any maintenance, anything. Not only do they pay for it, they do it. So they will hire the people, pay them. It's all their responsibility. We do nothing. So that's amazing. Now, the other tenants, like the restaurant, me, the dance studio, pay triple net. So that means that triple net is like all the expenses the tenant pays. So they pay for parking lot maintenance, they pay for exterior maintenance, they pay for HVAC, they pay for plumbing problems, electrical, anything that goes wrong on the property, the tenants basically pay for it. They even pay for property management. Now, what they don't pay for are like if we're improving a property for a tenant. So we spent probably around $30,000 to fix up the dance studio for those tenants. That is the landlord's cost. We can't charge that back to the other tenants. That's not fair, obviously. But if we're, painting the entire exterior of the building and it helps everybody, we can charge that back to the tenants through triple N costs. And that's usually, can be a set cost when you first sign the lease, but it can increase if those costs increase or decrease if they decrease. And it's not a fixed cost every year. The tenants kind of have to expect for a little bit of leeway in there. But the triple N costs on this property are pretty low, and I'll show you why in a little bit. So we also had 2 vacant units when we bought this property. My office and the dance studio were vacant. So not only were we not getting any rent on those properties, but the landlords are paying utilities. We're paying for gas, electric, our portion of the water, while those units are vacant. So that's costing us is $600 a month. It may have been more than that. I don't have the exact figures, but I was trying to be conservative. It might have been more than that. That's about how much that's costing us for paying utilities. Plus, there were triple N costs, which if we had tenants in these properties, they would have been paying, but they're not. So not only are we not getting lease money, we're not getting the triple N. So we're paying that portion of the property taxes, the insurance, maintenance for those vacant units. And basically you take the square footage that unit occupies of the total building and divide it by the total square footage, and that's their share. So if they have 8% of the square footage of the building, their triple N costs are 8% of the entire building. So it's pretty simple, but the landlord is paying all those while those are vacant. So theoretically, the property should have been making about $17,710 a year after you subtract these costs from the rents. However, the people we bought it from, their books showed they're making a lot less, $15,000 in some. And part of that is because they weren't charging high enough triple N costs, so they should have been charging the tenants back all of those costs, but they had more than what the tenants were paying. And then there were some weird things in their books too, where I don't know if they were quite showing how much money they actually made. So basically, they were showing they made $190,000 a year. And when you value a commercial property, you value it on the cap rate or yield. So on this property, it was being valued at a 9 cap rate, which is phenomenal. Most properties in our area are valued at a 6 to 7 cap rate. Some of the really long-term tenants are even valued at a 5. So that was a fantastic cap rate. And basically what they decided was, at a 9% return, that makes the property worth $2.1 million. So that's how cap rate is figured. It's the return you're making on the money, net income, and that gives you a price. So 9% of $2.1 million is $189,000. That's how much they're making. So the property was worth about that. Now, if they would have had this property at a 7 cap, say they're asking $2.1 million, but it's valued with a 7 cap, they would have only been making $147,000. So there's a huge difference between a 9 and a 2. And you can see right here, if you use that same income, say it's making $189,000 at a 7 cap, that values it at $2.7 million, not $2.1 million. So right there, I think they could have sold this at a 7 cap if they wanted to. we walked into the deal with a ton of equity right off the bat. So that was one awesome thing with this building. Now, the other thing we did is we added value with new leases. So I leased out my section, so that added value because I'm paying lease, rent to the building, even though I get part of it. As I'm part owner, it still counts. And the dance studio moved in. So we added $5,000 a month in new leases. Now I'm paying, the dance studio's paying triple net costs, so those costs are being paid in as well. And then now I'm paying, and the dance studio's paying utilities. Oh, I spelled it wrong. Whoops. That is not good. Fixed. Okay. Why didn't my spell checker find that? That's not cool. Anyway, $600 a month in utilities. So basically, those two leases are bringing in almost $7,000 a month more, or $82,000 a year more in new income and savings from the utilities triple N costs. So at a 9 cap, that just added $910,000 in value, that income. At a 7 cap, that added almost $1.2 million by having those two leases. And that shows the power of value-add commercial properties and what big deals like this, the opportunities are. It's not easy to do. It took us a while to lease it. We had to do some tenant improvement. And people ask me all the time, is it normal for a landlord to do tenant improvement to pay for some of the rehab? And it is in some cases it's not. But this is the reason why landlords are willing to do some tenant improvement, because that $30,000 that we paid, added $500,000 in value to the property. Plus, it brings in a lot more money. And I cut my numbers in half because that was just the dance studio's portion we spent the TI on. We did do a little bit for my office too, but not as much. Now, the other way we added value is by increased leases. The current leases that were on the property, the grocery store, the restaurant, those bump up every year. So they increase in value every year. So basically, every year, we're adding $94,000 at a 9 cap or $120,000 at a 7 cap in value, because every year we have it built into their leases that there's an increase. The same with my lease, the same with the dance studio. So each year, the value of the property automatically goes up if the cap rate stays the same. Now, value add with improved management. We are on site. I'm kind of acting as the manager of the property. Well, Nikki, my project manager, helps do that a lot too. But I show that big difference in what the property should be costing versus what it actually was or making. And a lot of that was really high management costs, some weird things going on with the books. And basically, we've been making more money than we thought we would from the beginning. So we've had at least $2,000 or more a month coming in through improving those things. And that's added more money as well. 9 cap, $270 to 7 cap, $340,000. And so the numbers get kind of crazy. If you add all of this up, we've basically added either $1.2 million at a 9 cap, which is crazy conservative. Don't see any properties priced like that right now, or $1.6 million at a 7 cap. So if you look at the value now of the property at a 9 cap, it's probably $3.3 million. At a 7 cap, $4.3 million. And that's because we're adding all this value we added on top of the already increased value when we bought it. So it's been a pretty good investment, I guess. And I'm really looking to buy more and more of these properties. I made an offer on another one that was $2 million this week, another one that was $600,000 this week, waiting to hear back on those. And after looking at what this property's done, how it's performed, I'm like, man, we need to focus much more on doing these types of big deals, getting them done, than doing a bunch of flips. I love doing the flips. I'm still going to do those, but these are a lot of fun too. And the other crazy thing here is I made this note so I wouldn't forget. The grocery store occupies 54,000 square feet of this building. They pay an insanely low lease rate. They've been here like 30 or 40 years, and the rents have bumped up, but they're not even close to market rents. So when their lease renews, we can definitely bump them up higher. Or, it would not be ideal. This is not my plan. If they leave, we could probably rent their space for 3 times what they're paying right now, which would increase the value of this building to like $8 million, which is insane. I mean, it would take some money, some time to lease those spaces, but it's not the end of the world if they had to leave. And what's funny is we had 2 different people come to us asking to lease that grocery store space without it being advertised. We had no sign up, not listed anywhere. Another grocery store and I think a gym came to us saying, hey, we want to lease that space. Is it available? I'm like, no, sorry, they're on a long-term lease. But it was good to know there's demand, and that's why being on a busy street, like I showed you in the very beginning, being a good location is so important to commercial properties. You know, a lot of people say, oh, retail's dead, commercial's dying. Well, if you're in a good location, people are always going to need grocery stores, different types of retail, different types of, office space in the right locations on busy streets. And it's just a huge opportunity if you can find those properties, especially value-add properties like this one. So that is all I've got. Hopefully all those numbers weren't too confusing. Basically, we've added more than $2 million of value to the property through new leases, also by getting a really good deal on it, improving the management, and we're not even, done optimizing the property. We could easily increase the rents on the grocery store or get a new tenant there. I think their lease is up in a couple of years if we wanted to. And we had the golf simulator as well, which took up about 1,000 square feet, which really we could have leased out to the dance studio, but they came to us after we already fixed that up and created it. So tons of opportunity here. Not easy to find. I've been looking for new properties like this for a long time and finally found a decent one now, but they don't pop up every day, and they're not just listed on the MLS like this. It takes some work to find them, and that's where the challenge is. All right, hope you guys enjoyed the video. Please leave me any comments, questions below. Give us a thumbs up if you liked it. And remember my new book, not my new book, my old book, Build a Rental Property Empire, has a new chapter on commercial real estate I created this last year. So that book is 3 or 4 years old. I think I've sold more than 30,000 copies of it. I think it's one of the best rental property books out there, and I'm constantly updating it. It's not like it's 3 or 4 years old. And that brand new chapter goes into commercial real estate, some of the things to look out for, watch out for. So you can get that at Amazon, paperback, Kindle, and it's an audiobook as well. We just re-recorded a brand new audio version this month that's live on Amazon and Audible that has a new commercial chapter, all the updates, and a much better narrator than we had before as well. So check that out. Hope you guys enjoyed the video, and we'll have more coming up soon.